Hello, hello, hello. This is Adriane Berg, and this is The Ageless Traveler. And this is a particularly great time to have with us Dvora Citron, because she is not only an RN, she is not only a certified nutritionist, she's also a one-on-one coach, a group coach, and she has a terrific 8-week program, Sexy in Your 60s. Okay, Adriane, have you gone mad? This is not a coaching show. This is a travel show. Yes, I know that. It's The Ageless Traveler, and some of you, and you've written to me about it, say, gee, I really think I can't travel anymore. Just not fit enough. I'm not ready for it. Or others say, I'm doing great. Now I'm going on a long, long trip, and I don't want to lose everything that I have achieved from my good lifestyle. And then there are those of you who really do want to be sexy in your 60s, in your 70s, in your 80s, your 90s, and beyond. And you wonder, how is that accomplished exactly? And how would I use a coach so that when I go into some of those cruise lines that have the solo travel meeting, they all have that by the second or third day, going in there with the vibrancy, with the confidence, and with the health that I should have to make a splash. See what I did there? Cruise ship splash. Okay. All right. Now we are here. We're here with Dvora Citron, and we're going to be talking about the answers to just those questions. So thank you, Dvora. Thank you so much for being with us today.
I'm so glad to be here, Adriane. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, all right, let's start with the person who is going on a trip, because this is always a concern. And we've talked about this before on The Ageless Traveler. You do lose your habits, and you want to. The first thing you want to do is let go of your habits. It's healthy to get into a new environment, make new neuroplastic networks in your brain, all these wonderful things. At the same time, you may stop going to the gym, you may stop your yoga, you may eat wrong. What are some of the things that you think people could take away from your expertise as a coach so that just doesn't happen to them?
Well, I think this is a great question, because when we're in our own environments, it's really easier for us to keep our habits that we're dedicated to, with exercise and nutrition and whatever kind of stress reduction habits we have. So we have to be very intentional when we know we're going to be in another environment about how we're going to implement those practices that keep us balanced. So we want to think of what will keep us balanced and feeling well in this other environment. So it really means that you have to do some anticipation, and you have to prioritize. You have to know, what's important to me? Do I need to get activity to feel well? And if you do, you look and see what are your options in that travel situation you're going to be in, whether it's a cruise or any other kind of program or situation you've arranged. Do you like to walk? Do you like to do any kind of yoga or Pilates? What kind of opportunities do you have for both group activity and your own activity? Do you want to bring some equipment with you? What's available for you? And then also with nutrition. For me, nutrition's the biggest, because especially in a cruise, you're eating at least 3 times a day, right? Probably a lot more. So I think for me, travel, I love to travel, and I really, really am a foodie. I love to eat, but being plant-based, I really am intentional about finding out about what my options are. And I think that is really key, both whether you're on a cruise or you're in other cities or countries. I do a lot of investigation beforehand about what kind of choices I have. And if the information's not readily available, I will call restaurants or email restaurants and talk to chefs. And I've had some of the best plant-based meals in regular restaurants. And the chefs are just thrilled to cook a plant-based meal for me, and everybody else is looking at me jealous. I think that there's a lot of options out there. You have to do your homework and ask questions.
So we want to talk about the mindset of intentionality. I'm going to give some hints and tips now, some of the very things that you talk about. I really do practice because I travel about 6 months out of the year. And although it could be intermittent, they're pretty long. Sometimes they're 3-month trips. So there's a couple of things that I do that's intentional, but I know that in your course, in your 8-week course, you have intentional nutrition. Intentionality can be more than just what you eat. But here's some hints and tips. First of all, just as you said, do your homework. And one of the homeworks you can do on a cruise is you can meet the food manager and you can tell them that you want either vegan or vegetarian or low salt or no sugar. Now, for me, it's low salt. And I have to tell you, I get better meals than anybody else at my table. That is absolutely true. They're more carefully prepared, I discover. They don't have that terrible salt taste. Everybody's walking around with swollen ankles, and I'm not on the ship. And then, of course, if you have a tour operator, they will ask you. They'll usually ask you, do you have any allergies? Now, I don't have any allergies, but I have plenty of food preferences. For example, I'm not plant-based, but I don't eat any meat. I'm a pescatarian. I make it very clear. So the intentionality. And I'm going to throw that to you, the mindset. We want to go on vacation. And then when we were kids, the idea was to throw everything to the wind. We worked so hard. Our kids were, demanding. We just wanted to lay out on the beach. But it's not the way it is now. We have much less, honestly, on our back. We may not think so. But as you get older, you get freer. And, you don't have to be so unintentional. You have to think about some of the things. You'd never go away without your pills. So why would you go away and throw away your nutrition or your exercise? I think all of that is really important. And I'll tell you that I was in Uganda and I had my guide take me to the local gymnasium. And I had the time of my life. Not only did I do the regular stuff that everybody does, they had a class there on what was basically booty dancing. It's very hard, let me tell you that. And everybody else was under the age of 30. But it's very good exercise. So you don't have to give up any of your habits if you're intentional. But intentionality, now that's something you actually do work with on a one-on-one basis. Explain that, because you've got something you called vibrancy. And every little letter stands for something. So I is for intentional. Tell us about intentionality that we can carry over on our trips.
Well, Adrienne, I want to go back just a little bit to what you were talking about in the dining hall, because one of the things that I think is helpful, and I shared with you before that I teach plant-based nutrition, but I don't expect people to be exclusively plant-based. But one of the things I teach is, what does a plant-based plate look like? And it's very easy to picture. You picture your round plate, you divide it in half, and one half is vegetables and fruits. 1/4 is grains and whole grains in that category. And the last quarter is plant-based proteins like legumes and those kind of things. And so if you picture that plate, when I know sometimes you get served things, but there are also buffets, or you get a choice of how you want to design your meal. If you picture that, and that's the base of how your eating is designed, you're going to be in great shape. You can certainly add anything else you want to, but if that's your base, you're starting off great. And so that's part of intentional nutrition, is that you have this foundation for how you eat.
Very, very intentional, actually, at a buffet, or even when you're looking at a menu in a restaurant. That's a really, really good example. And I would think that in the legumes or the vegetable protein, if you're a protein meat eater, you just substitute that little portion for the meat, and you've got a good plate there too.
Exactly. And so, you're talking about, what did we used to do when we went on vacation, throwing it all to the wind, and how do we do things now? Well, I think we pay a lot more attention now to how things make us feel. And we build our practices and our intentions based on how we want to feel. And so, I know now that if I eat certain foods, I don't sleep that well. And then if I don't sleep that well, I don't feel that well. And so I choose my foods and what I'm doing with intention, because I want to feel great when I'm traveling and I'm on vacation. And I know if I eat well throughout the day, that doesn't mean you can't splurge even every day, just a little bit, that I'm going to just enjoy myself and feel a whole lot better. I'm going to make sure I get activity because I know that that's going to support my ability to participate in the different options available to me. One of the things I do is I search out what kind of activities are available. When we were in Paris, we did the Lieb bikes, the ones that they're like city bikes. And so I learned all about how do we do that? And instead of taking a cab or a bus or the train, we would bike from place to place. It was faster than taking a cab a lot of the times. And when we were in Alaska last summer, our friends looked for a place that they could go swimming because they swim regularly. So you search out things that are going to support your well-being because that's going to make your whole travel experience so much greater.
It's absolutely true. Now, walking, we are so excited about walking because my only sport, believe me, it's my only sport, is I'm a long distance walker.
It's the best.
I can't even bike. I don't know how to ride a bike. How do you like that? And I don't know how to swim. And I'm considered an adventurer. Why? Because I find substitutes for everything and I do it anyway. But the main thing I do is walk. And that does everything. It helps the mitochondria, cell health. It's just an amazing thing. And it's easier to do on vacation because you have the time. You can go from one place to another and it's very interesting. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's so many dedicated walking vacations. But one of the things that you teach your R in vibrancy, I think, is for resilience.
Resilient movement.
Tell me about that resilient movement, and does it translate to something you can do on a trip?
Yes, I think that the exercises and movement you do when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they're not the same thing that you're doing when you're younger, whereas the workout was the whole purpose of it and how hard you could work out and all of that. Right now, when we're talking about resilient movement, it's so that we can move with joy and move for function and purpose. So we can get off the floor. We can walk when we're traveling wherever you want, if that's what your goal is. And you can carry things while you're walking.
What you're talking about now is functional exercises.
When we're talking about functional and resilient movement, we want to make sure that we're doing things that help our joints move and help our mobility, but also help our balance. Our balance is so important as we're getting older, because especially when we're in different environments and we might not be used to the physical situation. And so there are a lot of exercises you can do in your little room or your hotel room. You can just stand and balance on one foot for 30 seconds and then the other foot for 30 seconds. If you do that a few minutes a day, it makes such a huge difference in your physical ability and your core strength. And that helps prevent falls. And we really want to keep ourselves as active and functional as possible. And we want to reduce our risk of falls and disability. One of the things I was thinking about that we really love doing, and I do a lot, just like you talk about all the time, I do a lot of research in advance. I love to do audio tours with my iPhone. And so I look up and buy a lot of audio tours, and that sets me up for doing lots of walking. And so I buy them or whatever, I download them on my phone, and my husband and I will do them, or I'll do them whoever I'm with. I'll do them by myself a lot.
So this is really wonderful. We're going to take a little bit of a break. And one of the things that you did mention was packing for good health. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the things that we think we perhaps will help us if we bring with us. And all of these things make for a much better vibrancy. But before I leave, I have a suggestion. You have V for vibrancy in your coaching, right?
Vision.
Use vanity instead. Everything needs to be vain.
That's wonderful.
Vanity is the number one longevity drug in the world.
I love that.
So that's for me. When we come back, we'll be talking about what you should be packing, and then we're going to be talking about sex. Yeah, is the time to be sexy. Don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be right back. Did you know that 3,000 people receive the Ageless Traveler newsletter every single Tuesday, and it's free of charge? Well, you simply subscribe on our website, agelesstraveler.com, when you see the pop-up. or take a look at the resource section that's in the show notes accompanying this episode. You'll also see how directly you can subscribe to our newsletter. Now, what will you find in there? Well, every single week, you will get news you can use about travel, cultural experiences you can enjoy, suggestions for luxury travel for less, and yes, I answer your questions. And you can even send me those questions by text or voicemail, and you'll see just how to do it when you receive your Travel Tuesday newsletter. Plenty of discounts, plenty of inspiration, so that you never stop traveling. That's agelesstraveler.com. Take a look at the pop-up, subscribe, or take a look at our resource list accompanying this and every episode so that you get a direct link to Travel Tuesday. And now we're back with Dvora Citron, and she's got a lot to say about how to stay healthy while you are on vacation. And pretty soon we're going to talk about how to stay healthy before you go on vacation so that you're really optimal and you're going to optimize everything you're doing. Of course, she is the CEO of Slant to Plants. She is a nutritionist. She is certified in helping you becoming plant-based, but she's not dogmatic about that. She has some wonderful courses like Sexy in Your 60s. She has a great podcast called Sexy in Your 60s. But what we were talking about was something very pragmatic, Dvora, and that was packing. You mentioned you could pack a few things. What are some of the things that you recommend packing just to stay on course with your usual habits as much as you possibly can, no matter where you are in the world?
Okay, well, I love packing, actually. It's kind of strange how much I love packing because I feel like I get so excited about my trip that I'm vicariously already starting my trip with my packing. So in terms of movement and exercise, I always pack like these stretchy bands that you can use. I pack either a tennis ball or one of those cork balls. And if I have space, I pack a half-size roller because I roll every day, different parts of my body. And if I really have space, I pack a yoga mat. Or wherever I am, I see, is there a yoga mat I can borrow to keep where I'm staying? I get to create this space of transformation wherever I am. I roll the yoga mat out, and that's where, I have my yoga programs I can access online. I can do my stretching. I have all kinds of exercises. You can use a tennis ball for rolling and self-massage. It's really important to have structure and support for self-care activities, because when you go away, if you just toss everything to the side, you're just not going to be able to really take care of yourself so that you can enjoy yourself. So those are the kinds of things I do physically. Of course, I bring plenty of clothes that I'm comfortable in because I want to be able to walk. And so really the most important thing is for me to wear comfortable shoes. And to be really honest with you, I do a lot of planning about which shoes I'm going to wear with all my outfits. Even if they're dressy, I tend to wear flatter shoes so that I can even walk when I'm dressed up. And so that's a big deal. I also bring some healthy snacks with me. I bring certain kind of bars that I use so that if there's not a healthy meal, if I feel like having a healthy meal, I have a substitute. And I like to pack using packing cubes. Packing cubes.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength. Again, I'm here with the practical, with the hints and tips. We do have tools and we do have discounts. And I'll tell you all about it in our next break. But we use something called Tripped, which is a packing case company. Mm-hmm. And we get a lot of discounts for our people if they want to use those packing cases. They're really very important. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what I take with me. And this is just my personal stuff. I do take those elastic bands. There's no doubt about that. I do take an app whenever I feel that I'm going to have called Body by Elena, who happens to be a friend of mine. And I'll put that in the show notes so that I can actually do exercises with somebody. It's not live, but they're just enough. They're 5-minute exercises and they end up being 30 minutes. I could do it anywhere in the world. I've done it, honestly, I've done it in airports as well as in hotel rooms. If I'm on a ship, my husband will testify, the first place I go is the gym. I see what do they have to offer at the gym, what do they have to offer at the spa, and I know and I plan in my mind when I'm going on sea days because when it's port days, I'm off the ship and I'm running. But on 3 days, you're going to find me in the gym. I also take, and they don't know this is not a advertisement, Nature Valley bars. I think everybody, Dvora, should have one snack that to them personally, it sustains them. Now, it happens to be for me, just the oats and honey Nature Valley bars. Sometimes I've been in Vietnam or I've been in Cambodia and the salt is too high and I know it's not good for me, and I will substitute a meal. So everybody should have something that travels well. And then I'll go back to the vanity. You can't take a lot of creams with you. They're heavy. They don't let you take them across customs. If you want to have a carry-on, sometimes you can't put on your carry-on. So how do you keep beautiful, right? I use New Face, which is a microcurrent I've been using for years. So that's it. And I'm good to go. And I'm good to go for a month with that kind of thing, which is, it really does make a difference. Yes. Now, I want to go back, though, to the people who come to you, and I'm going to put this in travel context, and say, I'm not feeling well. I need something new. I'm really going through an 8-week program because I want to change my lifestyle. I don't want to maintain what I'm doing. And that comes before people travel. They say to me, they just don't feel up to it. I ask them, what's wrong? They say, nothing on paper. It's not a diagnosis or anything. They just feel logy. And then they'll go through a program like yours and it'll take them through the other side. So what can people do? Let's say they decide, I definitely am traveling in 2026. No more excuses. What are some of the things they can do to get some of that great feeling of sexy in your 60s or vibrancy, that in the first 3 things you would do to give people a jump start?
Well, Adrienne, when I work with people as a health coach, one of the most important things to do, and I'm sure you already embody this, is to really give people permission to dream and ask themselves what they want. How do they want to feel? Why? What are they going to be able to do when they get there? Because a lot of times people set goals like, I want to lose this weight, or I want to be able to run this marathon. Why? How is your life going to change? That vision, that's your motivation. That's why the vibrant thing starts with vision and vitality, because what health coaching is about helping people create small steps that they can take and helping to figure out how to support their success in taking those steps and keep them accountable. So reaching goals just starts by one step at a time, but nobody will do anything if they don't like it. So you have to make things enjoyable. But there, again, it has to relate back to their motivation. Why is it important to them? And you always have to tie that. Why is it important for you to take this walk every morning? Why is it important for you to drink 8 glasses of water a day? What are you going to be able to do? And you have to keep reconnecting that, because that is what gets you going. And having people make a commitment to when and how they're going to do something. Because if I'm working with you and you tell me, well, I'm going to do that this week, and I will say, well, when are you going to do that? Oh, I'll do it by Tuesday at 5 p.m. I want to know exactly when. I want to know what makes it possible for you to do it and what you think your chances of success are at doing that. Because if you don't believe you're going to be able to do that, then we have to figure out how to change things for you so that you feel confident in doing that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I mean, the idea of the vision seems to be the trigger. There's one phrase I love, which is the bigger the why, the easier the how. Mm-hmm. And the hows are always hard. Whether it's starting your own business, whether it's exercising, whether it's trying to go out and meet new people, whether it's decorating your home. The hows are always very difficult. But people do things because of the why. Exactly. The why is so big. And on a personal note, I'm going to exercise today. I don't want to go. I'll tell you right now. I have to go on the treadmill. I have a big gym. It smells like a gym. Everybody around me are these great, guys and girls. They're so beautiful. I don't want to see them. And my gym trainer, which is a class, he's a Navy SEAL. And the reason I picked him is he doesn't care about my age. He will not use it as an excuse. So I can't use it as an excuse. So I have to do some very hard things. I do not want to go, but I'm going. So it's a hard how, but the why is so big for me because it permits me to live the life that I live, which is the biggest why, in the world. It just lets me get on a plane for 13 hours.
But you've set yourself to succeed in that goal because you made a commitment to be in that class.
Yes, right? But it took me a long time to know what my why was. I did not wake up in the morning and know what my why. I always knew what the how was. People would, how many of you out there know how to lose weight? Every single person knows. The how, boom, that's the booby prize. It's the why that you have to really figure out if you care about. And it took me a long time to figure out what my life purpose was and what it meant to travel and to give back to others and to help them travel and to increase longevity through travel. I didn't wake up overnight. So that's an important discussion. So let's go back to you as a coach. The idea of the vision, you have to elicit that from people. What are some of the protocols for people to come up with their vision?
Part of what you want to do, part of what we do as health coaches at the very beginning is go through with our clients in a self-assessment. And so they'll do a self-assessment, and depending on who you're doing your coaching with, it can, look different. It can include very much physical health things, but also mental and emotional health things. So when you do a self-assessment like that, it's the beginning of the process in itself, because you're already seeing, well, how am I doing in all of these different areas? Then I will talk with my client and go over it with them and find out, how was that experience for you doing that self-assessment? And that helps us create a discussion, a dialogue about what kind of things are hard for you? What kind of things do you love? What kind of things do you want to be better at? Just that dialogue itself starts to paint the picture of what they have in mind for their future. The health coach is about helping their client build confidence. You build self-efficacy and resilience so that when you start succeeding in very small goals, like we're talking about, can you walk around the block? Well, once you feel confident about walking around the block, you have succeeded. And then you're ready to move on to your next goal. It's really about just building this structure that you can then take and generalize into another situation. Then someone says, oh, gosh, I didn't think I could go on this group travel program because those people have to walk 5 miles a day, but I did this over here. So I think I can try this. I'm going to try that.
It's exactly right. A couple of things. First of all, when I first started to exercise, I was 50 years old. People think, oh, she must. No, as I told you, I don't swim. I can't do a bike. 50 years old. And I was able to do 3.4 minutes. I'll never forget it, on the treadmill. And after 3.4 minutes, I started to have palpitation and scared me. But my coach, I had a coach, said, do 3.5 minutes. So now I've walked 50 miles in a day. 50. I could do it. Wow. I got a shirt and everything. It's called the Kennedy 50 in 23-degree weather in February, but that's a nutcase. But you don't have to be a nutcase. The point is that's incremental. So that was at 50, and at 77, I look at a treadmill, it looks at me, and bang, I'm at, there's no issue of doing half an hour, 60 minutes, whatever it is. And that's from incremental successes. But the fact is, you do have to have that big why. And I like what you said about the fact that once you have it and once you've got that protocol, you said you could take it into other situations. Because what you're really learning is a process, and which can be duplicated for all kinds of things. So when I am successful in something, particularly physical, because I'm not a physical person, I say, if you can do this, you can do anything. So if something else comes up that has nothing to do with physical, but it makes me nervous, I'll say, well, you were able to do that. You walked 50 miles. You can make a presentation in front of 50 people. And it really does translate that self-confidence throughout your whole life.
And I think one thing that's special about women age 50 and above is we can shed so many things that were limiting us before. We can shed our worries about what other people think,
Yes.
and we can shed about worrying about needing to look young or be young, because that's not what sexy is about. It's about being vibrant and magnetic and energetic and present. And so, that's an important thing to focus on. When people can let go of things that were limiting them before, they're more courageous about and brave about taking another step forward. You just have to take one step forward. I love the phrase progress over perfection,
My Navy SEAL, he likes to do something inspirational other than making us do burpees. But all the time, every time anybody makes a mistake. And his great inspiration, what I really like this, is that progress is not measuring where you're going to be or where you want to be, but where you are now compared to where you were. And even if it's the extra half a second more on the treadmill, you have made progress. And if you're always looking at where you're not or where you have to go next, it could be daunting.
Yes, I think that's one of the advantages of working with a health coach too, because when you're working with someone, and people don't have to work with someone their whole life, but when you are working with someone, you're creating together this plan for accountability, and you're getting reflection from your health coach on how well you're doing, the progress you're making. And I just really resonate with what you're saying right now, because I had spinal fusion surgery 5 months ago. And today I was at my physical therapy session, and my physical therapist really works me hard too. And I showed up today feeling like, oh, I don't know if I'm making enough progress. And she set out all these things for me to do. And she's like, you couldn't do that before. You couldn't do this before. And wow, you're doing great.
You're absolutely true. And I really do love it. Now, we do want to talk about being sexy, seriously sexy. So we're going to do that as soon as we come back, because you did choose, Dvora, to name your program Sexy in Your 60s. And you're planning to expand it so that folks like me in their 70s and 80s can also appreciate. And you even started your podcast, which we'll talk about in a minute, Sexy in Your 60s. So there's a reason it didn't say healthy in your 60s or plant-based in your 60s or even vibrant you said sexy. So we come back, we're going to talk about the use of that word as you read it. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. One of the things that you've told me over and over again is that your biggest barrier to travel is money. What else is new? Well, we have now affiliated and partnered with all the booking sites that you would be interested in. That's booking.com, that's hotels.com, that's Expedia, that's Guides, Get Your Guide, and of course TripAdvisor, the big one. So if you are going to be booking, you're going to want to use the links that we provide for you, because there are discounts there. There's also ease and convenience. It also does something for all of us. It is true, yes, I get a small donation in the event that you book through any of these sites, but I plow it right back in so that we can have more research, more clout in the world of anti-ageism and tourism, and get you even more discounts. So please use these, because it'll be good for you, and it'll be good for your family, and it really puts a lot more money in your pocket and makes life easy. How do you do that? Well, you simply go to our discount page on agelesstraveler.com/discounts. You'll see that also in the show notes. So use it and never stop traveling. And now we're back with Dvora Citron, and she's giving us a lot of motivation and a lot of practical information too on staying healthy while you travel, getting yourself together so that you can travel in the first place. But the idea of being sexy. Now, let's talk about that. First, let's talk about the word. So what do you mean when you say sexy in your 60s?
I love the word because I think it's exciting. I do realize that Some people hear it and it's triggering for them. And I've noticed since I began this venture that people either feel kind of triggered and afraid of it, or they get really excited. And I think for me, sexy, it's not about sexuality, sex. It's not about how other people see us. It's about how we feel. How do you want to feel? And to me, like, I want to feel great. I want to feel excited. I want to feel passion. I want to feel energized. I want to feel charismatic. I want to feel funny. I think even funny is sexy. It's not even necessarily outwardly. It's like, do you feel great? Can you walk into a room and feel comfortable walking in by yourself, and not worrying about, oh my gosh, who am I going to talk to, no matter what age you are? Because everybody has that, right? Can you go into any situation and just really feel comfortable and grounded? I think that in order to feel that way, we really have to take good care of ourselves.
Yes.
So that's the foundation of my program, is how do we take good care of ourselves so that we can feel that way and we can live that way? And I think we have to redefine it as women aging actively. We redefine it from what it used to mean.
Yeah, I think we really do. But I also think there's a bridge. There's no doubt that if you are attractive in your personality and your health and your glow in the way you walk into a room, you're going to get people looking at you. And some of those are going to be the men and the women that you would like to relate to one way or another, including sexually. So it is one piece. It really one leads to the other. When you're dealing in something like I'm talking about, which is travel. If you're meeting somebody on a regular basis at work or in school and you get to know them, sometimes the idea of sexuality and sex evolves. But in travel, it's not like that. In travel, it's either there or it ain't. It's really, you meet somebody, you don't know who they are. They do not have a background that you can draw upon. You don't know who you're speaking with. Sometimes you have to worry about safety issues, but that's a different show. But it's very instantaneous. And that really does have to do with how you present yourself in that moment, in that first, few moments. And so it can lead to a great sexual relationship. It can lead to a permanent relationship. It can lead to a one-night stand on a ship that you'll never forget, even though you can't remember his name anymore. But you remember the night. So you have that. But it's interesting on a self-presentation level. Some people, and I'm one of them, is oblivious to how they seem to be to other people. And I'll give you an example. Because I'm an only child, I've kind of learned how to be my own friend. So my standards are, if I feel it's okay, or if I feel I look okay, it's fine. I've lived with my husband for 55 years. I don't think he knows what I look like anymore. I think he still thinks I'm 23 years old, and that's all he sees. So he's what they call really an unreliable narrator. You can't ask him, how do you look? Because the answer is always fine. Doesn't matter what it is. So I have my own standards. If I think I look good, then I look good. If I don't think I look good, then I don't look good. That's to the world. But I have said, and I said this only a couple of days ago in a discussion about getting picked up, in other words, sexuality in travel. I said, in my whole life, I was never picked up. And they all looked at me, my friends, and said, you're nuts. You get picked up all the time. You're just too stupid to know it. I think that if I were a solo traveler looking for a relationship, I wouldn't know it was there. And the reason I'm thinking about it is I cater to so many women, particularly, who are solo travelers. And they don't have the self-awareness of their own beauty or their own attractiveness, which is a better word, or the way that they do attract. And they'll come and they'll say, I can't meet anybody. But they met a lot of people. They just don't know it. I would be one. But how do you, as a coach, like you did it. You did it today. You said, I'm not making any progress. You couldn't see your own progress until your personal, therapist said, what are you, nuts?
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
I think we have that. And I think it gets more so as we get older. We get oblivious to our own attractiveness. And how do you get more into recognizing that?
Well, a few things come to mind. I think it's a mindset also. And so talking about how do you get in a certain mindset? When you're talking about being picked up, I think I do tend to notice it.
I think you have to have a feeling of self-confidence and your own mindset. A lot of this has to do with ageism. I'll give you a funny story. After this conversation where I said, I've never been picked up, and everybody said, you're nuts. But in fact, even my husband said, I've seen it. I've gone into the men's room and I'll come out and there'll be some guy talking to you. And then you'll tell me, I gave him our business card so that he could listen to the podcast. And my husband will say, that is not, he wasn't talking to you to find out about your podcast. But all right. Well, after this conversation, I go to a lot of places by myself. We even have something called Not Date Night, where I go to jazz clubs and other things by myself. So, and I get dressed up and I go myself, have a good time, and I come home. So there was a gentleman who was running to open the door for me to the jazz club, a stranger. And I realized before this conversation, this would have been my internal conversation. What does he think? I'm old? I can't open the door by myself. And then I thought, like, I could have had a V8. What? That's not why he ran so far, a whole block to open the door for you. You have to become not oblivious, but appreciative of who you are. And it can diminish when you age, because ageism tells you that you are not on the A-list anymore just because you've got gray hair. And you have to remember, you may be the only one who thinks you're not on the A-list. There may be a lot of people around you who really, really want to meet you.
Well, I think what comes to mind, Adriane, I think I was listening to one of your podcasts where you talked about listening to the music of your kids or even your grandkids, and connecting it to that. But yeah. I think when I was picturing that scenario you were just describing and thinking you would turn to this person and say, well, thank you very much. So switching your mindset from being resentful of him doing that because he thinks that you couldn't do it yourself to creating some warm connection where you made him feel good. And, and to me, then you start getting rid of ageism, because then it starts becoming invisible because you're just connecting as two people.
So we always say, us folks in the world of aging want to stamp out ageism. We have ageism stamp out day. You name it. We try to think of new words for older people. It goes on and on. But what we sometimes forget is how much we're projecting to other people, our own ageism or our own disinterest in them, because we think they're disinterested in us. Mm-hmm. And it becomes a very treacherous thing when you're alone and you want to meet new people. And then again, it becomes self-fulfilling because I went to the party, I didn't meet anybody. You might have met 30 people, but you don't know it because your eyes aren't open to it. Now, because I have a nice relationship, knock on wood, I'm not looking to meet a guy. But I guarantee you that with that mindset that I had, I never would anyway. It's a good thing I'm not looking, because I wouldn't find anybody, no matter what I looked like, no matter what I brought to
you. And you can say that, people might be traveling solo and their goal might not be to meet a guy, but just to make women friends, let's say, and you still have to put yourself out there in the same way. Let's say you're in water, I take watercolor class. Okay. And if I'm just sitting there into my own thing and I don't look at my neighbor and, comment on her painting and, oh, wow, that's so amazing the way you use those colors or whatever, you've got to put yourself out there and figure out how you're going to connect with other people and create a bond and find some way to create humor or make them feel good or ask them something about themselves. Then whatever your label is starts to become less important.
It is so true. And we could end here, because I think, honestly, this is the most important takeaway here. And that is, you have to do something for somebody else. is the easiest, fastest way for them to be attracted to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do for somebody else if you haven't done for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the journey. I think that's the coaching journey, that when you do have all the self-care, when you think about the nutritional aspects of your life, all your vision and your vitality and your intentionality and all of the wonderful things, the resilience, the functionality that you teach, and you're feeling better about yourself, there's room to recognize the other person, and there's room to do something for the other person. And that's what makes relationships real.
Right?
Right. We will have on our show notes, as everybody knows, where to find you, where to find your coaching, where to find your 8-week or your one-on-one program, where to find your podcast, and listen, because it really will make a difference. So I thank you so much, Dvora, for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Adriane. It's been so fun.
It's a lot of fun. And for everybody else, let's have more fun. Join our Facebook salon, which you will find on agelesstraveler.com. Take a look at our tools. We also have very special cruise discounts. We've made an incredible affiliation program with Cruises It. And for those of you who got our newsletter, you saw things like half off, second person free, all kinds of great stuff. But you will not know about it unless you are a newsletter subscriber. So again, go to agelesstraveler.com. Dvora says, I'm one of those. And you will get every Tuesday, Travel Tuesday. It's absolutely free, no cost for the subscription. And you do it at agelesstraveler.com. And for everyone, I'm going to say it, never stop traveling.